Good morning and thank you to each and every one of you for being here today. I am Abhishek Verma, a beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, also called as Microsoft Student Partner, and I will be your host for today's session. Before looking into GitHub Codespaces, I will first walk you through MLSA program and how you can apply for it. These are the key takeaways which you will be expecting from this event today. The first one is what is Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program, and the second one is GitHub Universe, which happened in the year 2022 in the month of November, where this GitHub Codespaces was announced, and the third one how you can use GitHub Codespaces in GitHub website or in VS Code in your local machine. This program, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, is a global community of students who learn and upskill together. If you are in tech, if you are into learning, and if you are being a part of any student community and want to join new programs or communities, it's a great place to learn new skills, connect with people, create content, get mentorship, and much more while empowering each other. It offers a supportive community where you could be yourself, thrive, and work towards building something much greater. Learning becomes exponential in collaboration, and we learn so much from peers across the globe. It is a very wholesome experience. The Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program is a global group of on-campus ambassadors who are eager to help students and their communities. And there are more people in these types of programs, and one of them is Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. The others are GDSC, GitHub Campus Expert, etc., and which will help also help in your career skills and guidance. As a Microsoft ambassador, you might find yourself organizing a campus or community hackathon, mentoring other students, or volunteering with an elementary school STEM class. It means you'll be supported while you build community, make a difference, lead others, learn and share. You will get access to Microsoft resources and experts to help you on your journey, including exclusive entry into a global student network. You will connect with Microsoft experts on Microsoft Teams and get a Microsoft 365 subscription and Microsoft Azure credits, including a Visual Studio subscription. Applications are open throughout the year, and the selection is done on a quarterly basis, like 3 or 4 months. They select students across the globe from different languages and from different countries. This was about Microsoft. And if you want to apply it, by clicking on this link, you can apply for it. The link in the link is in the chat box. When you click on this apply button, you'll be going for a login page where you should log in with a Microsoft account. If you have a Google account, you can just redirect it to Google. You should be having a minimum age of 16. Irrespective of your branch, you can apply for it. And you should be in a BTech or MTech program. I'll be going through a walkthrough how you should apply. This is the main website. It was a genuine Microsoft experience and not a fake one, like others in the market. Application, terms. This was the registration where you should fill your name, gender, date of birth, state or province, and mobile number. This was regarding your academic graduation. And these are the technical questions which you should answer. Like example, how you will teach your community, how you will inspire your community, and how will you promote some event in your community. And these are other social media accounts which you can also give a technical blog post. and other websites or resumes that you have. Example, Stack Overflow profile, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And any other information. These are the levels. For all of these, you will be getting certificates officially signed by Microsoft by a program manager from Microsoft and a swag from Microsoft USA. When you are shortlisted, you'll be taken into a new account after you do few GitHub forks and some other activities. You will be promoted to alpha and some other exercises also. From alpha to beta, you should be working on a project or any speech. From beta to gold, you should be a bug. You should participate in bug bash hackathon CTC. And now, when we are coming to this GitHub, I know that you are aware of GitHub, which is an open source platform where we generally host and deploy our website, but it is more than that. GitHub is the best platform for sharing code with colleagues, classmates, friends, and strangers. To make sure you do this without any interruption, GitHub provides dozens of features, including access control, task management, features, requests, bug tracking, and wikis for all projects. Today, GitHub not only allows millions of developers to share code and build businesses, but also explore new technologies and contribute to the open source projects. This is about GitHub Codespaces. GitHub Codespaces in simple words to say, when your system would not support to run few types of code, you can upload those codes into GitHub and then fork it with a containerized application, which is the Linux or Windows-based application that was hosted in Microsoft Azure. GitHub Codespaces. This was announced in the GitHub annual conference for the global developer community and customers, which happened in November 2022, taking place both virtually and in person in San Francisco. This year, GitHub Universe Content Track Center on Cloud Security, Community, and AI. On behalf of that, we are here to share some keynotes on GitHub Universe and Codespaces. GitHub launched a new feature called GitHub Codespaces, which is a complete developer environment within GitHub that lets you to contribute immediately. GitHub Codespaces is an instant cloud-based development environment that uses a container to provide you tools with common languages, tools, and utilities for development. GitHub Codespaces is also configured, allowing you to create a customized developing environment for your project. By configuring a custom development environment for your project, you can have a repeatable Codespaces configuration for all users of your project. And why you should use GitHub Codespaces, as it provides cloud-powered development environments for any activity, whether it's a long-term project or a short-term project. Like reviewing a pull request, you can work with these virtual environments from your Visual Studio Code on your local machine or in a browser-based editor, for example, Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, by just opening the github.com/codespaces website. This makes you work so much easier. Start coding instantly with Codespaces. The power of this tool is you can ask what is their favorite editor. Use Visual Studio Code, VS Code, Jupyter, or JetBrains. With the editor, terminal debugger, version control, settings sync, and all of your extensions work from any device in a browser or hand it off to your desktop. It's simple. Where all your favorite extensions like JavaScript snippet, etc. on your local machine will also come in your browser. If you install an extension with the name GitHub, it will just sync your extensions from your local machine to your cloud-based environment. So you don't feel the difference between your local environment and cloud-based tool. It was faster than your laptop. As we will be showing an option with multiple configurations like 2 GB RAM, 32 GB storage, 1 GB RAM, 8 GB storage, etc. And up to organization level where you can contact them for much more higher graphic cards and capacity containers. Contributing code to a community can be hard. Every repository has its own way of configuring a development environment, which often requires dozens of steps before you can write any code. Even worse, sometimes the environment of two projects you are working on conflict with one another. GitHub Codespaces gives you a fully featured cloud-hosted developer environment that spins up in seconds directly within GitHub. So you can start contributing to a project right away. GitHub owns 35 GB developer image starts in under 10 seconds. Scale your cloud virtual machine up to 32 cores and 64 GB of RAM, and with low latency connections across 4 regions. You won't remember it's a local mission or a global mission, and it's very cool. You can run it from any virtual machine, even from your Mac or Windows PC, or even from your local VS Code with the extension, remote extensions, which was pre-installed in your VS Code when you are downloading from it. It will be present in every system. Just you know to go for GitHub Codespaces and create a new containerized application. After going to your local mission, you will see that new container. You just need to connect to it. This will make you to stop wasting time fixing broken developer environments, quickly manage and configure your code spaces and developer environments, as code could not be easier or faster. You will be getting Azure based Windows or Linux containerized applications, mostly like in Linux, Ubuntu, Alpha, and etc. And you can personalize how you like. Example, your mission VS Code will be same as your code spaces VS Code. This is one of my favorite options when it comes to code spaces or any editor. Tab versus space, light and dark, prettier or beautify. It's up to you. Control every nerdy detail only you care about with your own dot files repository. It was secure by design. It was hosted on Microsoft Azure. Every CodeSpaces environment is hardened by default and lives in its own VM, in its own virtual mission, in an isolated virtual network. Your code and private networks can only be accessed by authenticated users. Code from anywhere. If you want to code from an iPad, go for it. You can spin up code spaces from any device with internet access. And forget about worrying if your device is powerful enough. Code spaces live in the cloud. Remember, if you lose connection to the internet while working in the code spaces, you will not able to access your code spaces. However, your uncommitted changes will be saved. When you have access to the internet connection again, you can connect to your code spaces in the same state that you have left it. As it is a containerized application, it will be auto saved in most of the cases. If you have an unstable internet connection, you should commit and push your changes often, as through Git. If you know that you will often be working offline, you can use a devcontainer.json file with the dev containers extension for VS Code to build and attach to a local development container for your repository. For more details and information, see developing inside a container in Visual Studio Code documentation from Microsoft Learn website. Onboarding at the speed of light. No more building your developer environment while you are on board. Codespaces start instantly from any repository on GitHub with pre-configured secure environments. It's as easy as clicking a button. And it comes with the latest updated softwares like Python 3.10 etc. Any machine learning enthusiast in the meet run Jupyter notebooks right from Codespaces. Now, data scientists and developers can co-develop models and collaborate in powerful computing environments that can spin up in seconds. Fix bugs and secure code. Get any issue detailing a bug or a security issue in your code. Open code spaces right from the issue to get to work without waiting for your developer environment to load. Experience it. What used to be a 15-step process is just one simple step. Open code spaces and you are off and running. It's so much easier for developers to use or even contribute to any repository when they can just spin up a code spaces and immediately start working with code. Before code spaces, the onboarding process was very difficult. Instead of taking 2 days, now it only takes up minutes for a developer to access a private steady state environment. Thanks to pre-builts and code spaces. Let developers skip the difficult and error-prone stuff that normal stands between them and get started on real work. And it's free for students. Codespaces is available for free to students as part of their GitHub Student Developer Pack, which you can apply through your college mail ID, through which you will be getting a $200 Azure credit and other Microsoft features like free Azure GitHub pages, etc. and JetBrains subscription too. And it is free for 60 hours per month for developers. Codespace is on default for developers with a GitHub free account. If you belong to any organization, there may be a policy that prevents cloning. But if you can clone a repository, you will be able to start your Codespaces organization. You'll also need to pay for enable and manage their Codespaces instance. For organizations, there are much more advanced features like advanced graphic cards and advanced storage and compute options. These all are hosted on Microsoft Azure based on the nearest location. As of now, there are 4 to 5 Codespaces locations in the world. They are Azure data centers where you can just spin up these containers, where you can prefer to spin up within your nearest location, like South India, Chennai, for India region. A Codespaces is a developed environment that hosted in the cloud. You can customize your project for GitHub Codespaces by configuring developer container files to your repository, often known as configuration as code, which creates a repeatable Codespaces configuration for all users of your project. GitHub Codespaces run on a variety of virtual-based compute options hosted by github.com, which you can configure from a 2 core up to 32 core missions. You can connect to your Codespaces from the browser or locally using an IDE using Visual Studio Code or other JetBrains code options. Your Codespaces will keep running while you are using it, but will time out after a period of inactivity. For example, if you run up 2 code spaces at a time and after few time of inactivity for a single container, it will be automatically saved and be closed. File changes from the editor and terminal output are counted as activity. So your code spaces will not time out if terminal output is continuing. The default inactivity timeout period is 30 minutes. For example, if you are not working on that code spaces environment for more than 30 minutes, it will stop. But it will be auto saved until the last change you have done. You can define your personal timeout setting from code spaces you create, but this may be overruled by any organization timeout policy. If you are from an organization and it has a timeout policy of more than 15 minutes, then after 15 minutes, automatically our code spaces will be off. But you can restart it from the browser tab in VS Code. Open the Visual Studio Code palette, for example, by pressing Windows Shift Enter or Windows Command P. Press code spaces, stop. Rebuilding code spaces. You can rebuild your code spaces to restore a clean state as if you had created a new code spaces. For most users, you can create a new code spaces as an alternative to rebuilding a code space. You are most likely to build a code space to implement changes to your developer container configuration. When you rebuild When you rebuild a code spaces, any Docker containers, images, volumes, and caches are cleaned. Then code spaces are built. Deleting a code space. You can create a code space for a particular task and then safely delete the code spaces after you push your changes to a remote branch. If you try to delete a code spaces with unpushed git commits, your editor will notify you that you have changes that have not been pushed to a remote branch. You can push any desired changes and then delete your code spaces or continue to delete your code spaces and uncommitted changes. You can export your code to new branch without creating a new code spaces. Now I will be showing you a real-time code spaces deployment in GitHub. Where you can see this GitHub options here. It's GitHub Codespaces. After going here, you can see that I was in an organization with the name Code 50, and I'm having a personal code spaces with the name Varma 59 C Sharp. They are given a shortcut names for every container you create. For example, here it's furry goldfish and it's miniature acorn. For example, if you want to create a new code space, you should select a repository from your existing repository. If you are in an organization, it will show your organization files too. But as I am not in any organization in terms of this code spaces, so I'll be preferring to create a new repository. Description. Just not. It's order it. Just creating a repository. After creating a repository, you should just go to this code spaces. By default, it will be showing you local, as you have never used this code spaces option. You all know if you want to download the files, you will be downloading it as a zip or open with a Visual Studio Code. But you will be going with this code spaces option. If you want, you have another option here. It's just the setting up your web editor, where you can see your entire code. But it was just to view only files. We personally prefer to use GitHub Codespaces. After selecting that, you will be selecting the newest repository. It's with the name code. Its default branch is main, as we are not having any sub options. And this repository is paid. As I was not in any organization, I'll be getting a 60-hour free trial. After that, I should pay. Yes, we can see options like US East, Southeast Asia, Europe West, US West. We personally prefer to go for Southeast Asia. It may be Singapore or South India, Chennai. We can prefer. It's our choice of interest. We can go with the 16 core, as it's a free subscription. If you need more power, you should contact the team. It will enable you 32 core GPU machine. This will be spinned up within 2 minutes. My name is Space Chainsaw, as per this container name. The most important thing was to check your environment, whether it was Windows or Linux, as this may affect your output. Okay, you can see that my software was Ubuntu version 20.04 LTS, which was hosted on Microsoft Azure. Okay, we can see the Python version 2. If you want a terminal, just go for this terminal. Python, it's a 3.10.4. You can also update it. Same as your local system. You can just run it and it will be printing. And your other extensions will also be here based on your profile. You can just commit it. It will take a few minutes. If you want to run this in your local VS Code, you can just go for it. And here is your option, Remote Explorer, where you can see my file with the name chainsaw. Then just need to connect to Codespaces. This option is enough. You will be created with a new VS Code environment. Okay, I'll be showing this. This was your normal VS Code with Remote Explorer. Just you need to go to connect to Codespaces. If you have any another Codespaces, they will be coming here. If you are any organization, it will be showing here. Just needed to make it full screen. These are installing some extensions. You can see its platform, Ubuntu version 20.04. If you want, you can again see the OS release, where you can see the same versions and it was the same file. Run code. This will be coming with hello world. Where if you are working on any web development, where if you are working on any web development platform, you will be getting a port forwarding option. Yes, you can just port forward it. That's all. Thank you for attending. You can now leave.